Well, our next guest has made it his mission to get the truth out about what really happened on 9/11, that there were no Muslim hijackers that took control of those airplanes. They were remotely controlled. Why is this part of the story being suppressed, blocked? And those who've spoken out about this have been grounded, have had their lives threatened for telling the truth. Our next guest was grounded as a result of this, illegally grounded as a pilot, medically after 9/11, after he discovered exactly what had happened with these aircraft. He, in many ways, had his life ruined as a result of it. Now he's made it a mission to stand with those other whistleblowers, those other pilots who've also had their lives ruined and in some cases murdered as a result of speaking out about the truth of 9/11. Now it seems finally we may have some movement in Congress with Senator Ron Johnson after Kurt Weldon appearing on our show and also appearing on the Tucker Carlson show, trying to get the message out about the truth of 9/11. Could we finally see some movement and some justice for these pilots? Captain Dan Hanley joins us now. He is that pilot who spoke out against this and was illegally grounded as a result of it and had his life turned upside down. Captain, welcome back to the show. Great to see you again, Dan.
Thanks for having me back on, Clayton. I really appreciate it. And yes, my whistleblower case was 22 years ago, and I didn't come here to cry on anybody's shoulder about what happened to me. I just want to make it a point of what could happen to a whistleblower and is still going on today, which is why we're here also. But my case actually started, Clayton, back in 2002, 2003, right after 9/11, when I tried to report safety and security frailties within the airline industry and was told, keep your head down. These guys are nasty. Watch it. If you take it to the next level, you're going to get hurt. And the company thinks you're a big mouth, loose cannon whistleblower and wants you to go away, and all kind of things I was taken back from. I'm going, wait a minute. I'm trying to report safety lapses in the security system here, and I'm getting this kind of blowback. So I'm going to make this part of the presentation short because I've talked an hour on this topic before, but basically what happened was I wrote these reports and they were getting stonewalled. So I was going to write the CEO of United Airlines a letter, and my union boss in New York says, please don't do it. Let me run it by the union lawyers in Chicago. And all I was saying was we were in bankruptcy at United Airlines at the time. And I said the pressure is being exerted on the union by the company, and the bankruptcy court is precluding them from representing pilot interests. So they said, don't do it. So the union lawyer calls me one day. He's got the grievance committee chairman on a conference call with me. And I said, did you read the letter I'm going to send? He goes, yes. I go, do you agree with the contents? He goes, yes. I said, you're my union lawyer. Do you recommend I send it in? And the grievance committee chairman said, go ahead and send it in if you never want to fly another United Airlines airplane again in your life. And I said, why? What are they going to do to you? They said, we've seen it happen before. They're going to ground you professionally, medically, psychologically, or otherwise, but they're going to take you out there. And I said, I've seen it before myself. So I decided I wasn't going to send the letter in, and instead I filed what's called a flight safety awareness report that also went to the FAA. And as soon as I did that, I filed 6 of them, was taken out of schedule immediately. And basically what I said in these reports is essentially what I said in the letter to the CEO. Okay. So I was taken out of schedule. I was called by my assistant chief pilot saying, you got to come to New York. And I said, well, I had asked the union lawyers, how far are you going to follow me in on this? And they said, not very far. So I didn't have union representation. So I wanted to bring my own attorney in, and they wouldn't allow that. So I'll cut this short. They kept me out of schedule and then eventually put me on sick list. And what I did in the interim, knowing full well that they were going to try to psychologically ground me, was I went to the best mental health professionals I could find in Atlanta and said, here's where I am at United. Here's what they're going to try to do to me. Run whatever tests you want. I'll come for counseling, which I did. And they proved I was mentally stable. For anybody out there listening to this story, I am mentally stable. But they they put me on sick list without me seeing an aeromedical professional. So I called my chief pilot because I was going to go non-pay, and I said, this is punitive now. I haven't done anything wrong. He goes, well, you need to submit to the employee assistance program. That'll guarantee your pay comes in. It's endorsed by the company, the FAA, and the union. And I said, what do I have to do there? Is whatever we ask you, but you got to go up to Chicago to see a doctor. So I was, okay, well, I knew this was coming. So I went to Chicago. I'll end it here. I went to Chicago, met with an aeromedical doctor who asked me, have you been seeing any mental health professional? Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. And I handed him the phone with my shrink in Atlanta on it, saying, this is Dr. McGuffin, talk to him. And they said, we want you to go over and see a company appointed psychiatrist. Well, I did. And after a 15-minute consultation where we were both very congenial, I said, what's your diagnosis going to be? She goes, I'm going to say you're bipolar. Well, I chuckled a little bit and said, look, I've got mental health professionals in Atlanta that will beg to differ with you on that diagnosis. And I said, I'll consult with them. Well, the skids were already grease, Clayton. They ran me off the property on a medical, and it practically, like you said, destroyed my life because this drug out over a few year period and took a heavy toll on my family. And eventually my wife of 27 years divorced me, and my two kids, that alienated them for one thing, and they blame me for the divorce. They still believe the official 9/11 story, think I'm a whacked out conspiracy nut. They don't talk to me. I lost $4 million in pay, pension, and stock. It destroyed a 35-year career and my in aviation and my reputation as a pilot, all for being honest. So that's what started me down the road to look for other whistleblowers.
When is the last time that you guys checked your home's title, the legal proof that you actually own your house? If you're like me, the answer is never until now. Now, Natalie and I are proud owners. We pay for Home Title Lock ourselves. They didn't give us a promo code or anything like that. We pay for the service because I want to know if someone tries to steal the title to our home. It's one of the fastest growing crimes in the United States, according to the FBI. And the problem is, in today's AI cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles. And why would they do this? Well, it's because the equity in your home has ballooned massively in the United States. So the equity is the target. Now, if you're sitting on equity in your home, you definitely want to make sure that you're protected so that someone doesn't steal your home's title. And here's the thing. It's so damn easy for them to steal it. All they have to do is go on Amazon and get a little notary stamp. Like, seriously. And they just can stamp it. They can take it down to the county, and it actually gets recorded that they now had a quitclaim deed transferred over to them for your home's title. And then suddenly they're taking out mortgages and loans against the equity in your home. How would you know about this? Well, that's where Home Title Lock comes in, because that's why you need to stop what you're doing and find out what Home Title Lock can do for you. And find out if you're already a victim, by the way. Just use the promo code Redacted, and you'll get 30 days of triple home lock title protection free. And in that 30 days, they'll be able to figure out in that free period. So like, even if you don't want to use it after the 30 days, you'll already be able to find out if your title has been compromised. But I'm telling you, this is something you should just keep and add into your home's security layer, because you're going to get a free title history report plus a 14-day free trial of their multi-million-dollar triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title. You'll get urgent alerts to any changes to your home's title. And if fraud should happen, they will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Now, I've spoken to their team. I've spoken to people who've had their titles stolen, and then Home Title Lock helped get it back. Up to $1 million to fix it. They have a whole team that's dedicated to fixing this issue, which is amazing. So go to HomeTitleLock.com right now. Use the promo code Redacted. I can't speak highly enough of these guys. I really, really believe in what they do, okay? Triple lock is very important, and I want you to use that promo code Redacted at HomeTitleLock.com. And make sure that your title is still in your name. Get that 30 days of triple home title protection for free.
And in 2006, I had a big email network, and I came upon someone contacted me and said, look, there's a Northwest Airlines DC-10 captain named Phil McConnell who has exposed illegal modifications on Boeing jet aircraft. And they've taken him out of schedule, and they want him to go see a shrink in LA. The union, the company, the FAA, and the Department of Justice did. Okay. And I got a hold of his phone number and called him. And I said, Phil, don't go. I told him my story. I goes, the setup, they'll ground you for life. Well, he retired 9 years early and also lost $4 million in pay doing it because he wanted to testify, qualify as an expert witness in future litigation. So he is the one who exposed the uninterruptible autopilot in December 2006. And in February, he filed. Go ahead. I'm rattling
Well, I was
on
going to say
here. Did
just
you have a question?
no, but I think that's people who don't know the story. So the uninterruptible autopilot system is at the heart
Yes.
of how these aircraft on 9/11 were remotely controlled. So he discovered this, and
Yes.
these other whistleblowers who discovered this have had their lives ruined as a result of it. So he discovered this. What happened after he discovered that?
Well, he was retired, so he filed suit in federal court in Washington, D.C., and I read the lawsuit and everything, and the judge tossed it as being a frivolous claim. So he spent from 2006 to present traveling all over the world, doing all kind of podcasts, radio program, TV programs, advertising the system, because most people who hear about it think, oh, this is sci-fi, this is wild conspiracy theory, but it isn't. The system is real. We got a patent on it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the other pilot I want to talk about is who we commemorate, the website I'm going to mention here in a minute. He's a real hero of the 9/11 pilot whistleblower group, and his name is Captain Philip Marshall. And this happened in 2013. Philip had written 2 books on 9/11. One was called The Big Bamboozle, and the other one was called False Flag. And he was about to publish a 3rd book, and he told his ex-wife and his neighbors, look, I'm being threatened about publishing this book. I'm concerned, right? A few days later, his neighbors found his family dog and 2 kids shot to death, and Philip had a bullet in his head. And the police came in and called it a murder-suicide, that he killed the dog, the kids, and turned the gun on himself. And no further investigation other than the local sheriff was taken. And guess who the California Attorney General at the time was? Kamala Harris, who could have further investigated it. Yes, but she did not. She did not. But there's a documentary I have to mention because I really want people to watch it, because their standard story was, oh, he was mentally ill, he was depressed about being divorced, etc. But the manuscript was missing from the house. Okay, nowhere to be
stole
found.
The manuscript.
Yes, but I've got it written down here. The name of the documentary is Unthinkable: An Airline Captain's Story, the Case of Captain Philip Marshall, and Marshall's spelled with 2 L's, okay? And it's a docudrama, but it's jam-packed with facts, and I'll leave it to anyone that watches that to decide whether it was a murder-suicide or it was a deep state. But we believe that it was a deep state.
So,
anyhow,
you've
go ahead.
Yeah, you and Captain Doug Green are the co-founders of the Whistleblowing Airline Pilots Association, who basically are now exposing the collusion between airline management and the FAA to go after whistleblowing pilots. They're tracking them down, firing them, and God knows what else. It seems murder on top of this, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And there are so many cases of this. We've launched this. The website's not up, I'm sorry to say, but the domain name is www.wape.international. Okay, Whistleblowing Airline Pilots Association International. And what we're doing is we've got whistleblowers lined up that want to be interviewed. We're going to tape record the interviews, put them on our websites that we have, put it out on social media, have them do podcasts, whatever, send it to the government, let them know that we're on to them, okay? But that's the purpose of our organization, is to give the whistleblowers a voice, but also to heighten public awareness of what's going on out there, because when a pilot whistleblower is suppressed, it's bad enough that his disclosure is suppressed, but it sends a chilling signal out to any other would-be whistleblower out there to keep your head down, or you're going to get it blown off. So one of our goals is to try to press criminal charges against those involved with this retaliation against whistleblowers, and we're going to pressure the Department of Justice on this. I don't know if you've interviewed Carlene Pettit yet or not, but she's a Delta captain that reported unsafe conditions at Delta Airline. I don't want to steal her thunder. Long story short, they took her out of schedule, was going to ground her on, guess what medical ground? Bipolar disorder. She's got a PhD in aviation safety, but she fought for 7 years and spent several $100,000 and finally won her case. And she's written a book. She's written 10 books, but she's got a website, a blog. It's beautiful. It's called Flight to Success. And you can order her books on there. But the biggie there is one she just released called AIR 21, the Delta debacle. And that describes exactly what happened to her. So we're going to go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I've spoken to a lot of these whistleblowers who all share a similar story. I mean, it's unbelievable. And thank you for what you've been doing. You've been able to introduce me to a lot of these airline whistleblowers from Delta, from United, all across the spectrum. It's not just one particular airline. It's subsidiaries of major airlines. It's smaller airlines. It's larger airlines. But it's all a common theme. You speak out, and you have your life destroyed, or in the case of Philip Marshall, you are shot in the head, and your family is killed for speaking out on what's going on here. So, yeah, I've spoken to a lot of them, and we're going to be releasing a lot of these interviews in the coming weeks here on the channel so people can really understand the depth of this. So I want to thank you for that. I do want to rewind, though, because to me, at the heart of all of this is what happened on 9/11, and this is one of the biggest pieces of your mission, is to get the message out about the truth of 9/11. Now, when Congressman Kurt Weldon was on our show, I specifically asked him about the remote controlling of the aircraft, and he didn't really, maybe he wasn't fully aware of it, or I don't know, but he kind of maybe swerved around it. And then when he was on Tucker's show, I don't think there was any discussion about it. But this to me is at the heart of it, right? That there's absolutely no way that these Muslim hijackers who had almost no flight experience whatsoever could have pulled off these incredible maneuvers that pilots with 30 years experience wouldn't be able to pull off. And then when, of course, your cohorts discovered the autopilot mechanism that has remote control of these aircraft, that's at the heart of this story. So I guess let's walk back a little bit here. Let's talk about these Muslim hijackers. And why anyone paying attention to this story should have an immediate red flag raised about their ability to pull off these maneuvers. Can you talk about that before we get into the autopilot mechanism and how that works?
Yeah, the smoking gun amongst the hijackers is a 29-year-old Saudi Arabian hijacker named Hani Hanjur, who supposedly piloted American 77 into the Pentagon, doing this amazing corkscrew to maneuver to arrive at the surface at 500 knots to hit the Office of Naval Intelligence on his first attempt. Now, this same maneuver was attempted and simulated and flown by many highly experienced pilots, and they crashed the simulator trying it, and yet Hani supposedly did it on his first attempt. But it gets better, Clayton. 1 month prior to 9/11, Hani Hanjur went to the Freeway Airport in Bowie, Maryland, and wanted to rent a single-engine little 172. And when you show up in an airport like that, they don't just throw you the keys and say, have fun. You've got to show you can fly, so you got to go, if they don't know you, you've got to go up on an evaluation flight. Well, Hani Hanjur, over a 2-day period, went up with 3-day period, went up with 2 separate instructors, a woman named Sheila Baxter and a man named Ben Connor. And they reported after they flew with him to the chief pilot, Marcel Bernard, saying, don't rent him the airplane. He can't handle it. This is the Cessna 172, 1 month prior to 9/11. So what did Hanja do? He goes down the road to another fixed base operator, Congressional Air Charter, and goes up flying with a flight instructor named Eddie Shalev. Now, Eddie Shalev came back and reported that he was a good pilot. Now, after 9/11, the FBI and a 9/11 commission staffer were sent out to investigate these 4 pilots, the 3 at Freeway and Eddie Shalev, okay? The 9/11 commission final report makes no mention whatsoever that he flunked these check rights, makes no mention whatsoever that he even went to Freeway Airport. There's just an end note where Eddie Shalev's name appears just once, saying that he was a good pilot. The information
so they omitted the other pilots who flunked him and said he's not. That's not even in the report.
It's not even in the report. And guess who Eddie Shalev was? An Israeli that came to the United States several months before 9/11, had served in the IDF as a paratrooper. And he's disappeared. Congressional Air Charters closed its doors up, and that's all we were supposed to hear about it. But let me just interject something here. You mentioned Kurt Weldon appearing not to be aware of it. Well, he wasn't. We just exchanged several emails a few hours ago, as a matter of fact. And his team contacted us in February. And I personally was working with 3 other pilots, and we were going to compile information to present to him, to present to President Trump. And somewhere within his organization, they decided we're not going to cover pilot issues now, we're putting it on the back burner. So that information I just shared with you never got to him until the night. I was disappointed that I couldn't come on the program saying I'm working closely with Kurt Weldon and Ron Johnson, et cetera, et cetera. And I sent him and another gent that he works with, a fireman, saying, hey, I sure wish I could go on Clayton Morris's Redacted and say that, but I can't. And he came back and said, look, Dan, I welcome any and all 9/11 information. So when I get done here, I'm going to send him
that to you.
Yes, he said that to me. So hopefully we'll get him the information. Hopefully he'll get before Congress. And I want to be right behind him talking about pilot issues, because you're right. It is right at the heart of things, Clayton.
Well, maybe we can have Kurt on. Maybe we can have Kurt on the show with you, and we can focus on this topic more specifically. I'm not making any promises, but I will text the congressman, and I'll ask him if he's open to that, and he seems to be as open as possible and with this. So I'm not making any promises, but we'll try for that. Okay. So on the Muslim side, so we're led to believe that Hanja pulled off this incredible maneuver, crashing into the Pentagon. Maneuvers that can't be pulled off by other pilots. They've crashed test simulators trying to actually pull off that. What about what happened in New York City, and how did those pilots manage to pull off those maneuvers?
Well, if you look at the buildings themselves, they're only 208 feet wide. The wingspan on a 767 is about 160 feet. So there's very little room for error in what they did. And we claim that with their lack of experience, not being able to take into a number of things like wind drift, et cetera, at 500 knots, to hit a target that precisely on their first attempt, both of them, was impossible. These guys weren't qualified on these airplanes. They weren't qualified 767 pilots. They trained mainly in little Cessna airplanes. And we say it's akin to having driven your family car for about a year and then getting into a big 18-wheeler tractor trailer, get it up to a very high speed and trying to drive it through a garage without scraping the sides of the truck. That's how precise they would have had to been. So we say that's not a possibility either. Let me just mention our organization, 9/11 Pilot Whistleblowers, if I could, because I'm the director of it. We've got this website at 911pilot.org, and I strongly encourage everybody to go there. It's an easy read. Go there, read it, watch the videos, and you'll agree with our assertions that the hijackers couldn't have flown the airplane. But the purpose of the site is to show there were no Muslim hijackers of the controls of the 9/11 aircraft, but that the aircraft were electronically hijacked and remotely controlled through the system we've been talking about here, the uninterruptible autopilot. And what it does is takes complete control of the aircraft autopilot and flight management computer and guide it to its designated target, whether that be a building or to another location. And once it's engaged, the pilots can't disconnect it. They're along for a ride.
So what evidence do we have that these craft were being controlled remotely with this uninterruptible autopilot system?
Well, we can't say this airplane had this system installed. All we can say in general is the FAA's already acknowledged the system existed to us. Okay. And I talked with an FAA attorney about a year ago, and we had him cornered because we talked about the Hanley story. And he said to me, Dan, you haven't proven that the uninterruptible autopilot was employed on 9/11. I go, yes, but we've proven that Hanley couldn't fly and that something hit the Pentagon. What other viable alternative explanation could there be but the system that the navigation system on today's modern commercial jet aircraft is derived from cruise missile technology, and it's extremely accurate down to a couple of meters. So he didn't have an answer. There was a long silence, and he said, the FAA doesn't conduct criminal investigations, go to the Department of Justice, which I reminded him that we had been to many times, and which is where we are right now, which is why we've contacted Attorney General Bondi and the Assistant Attorney General Criminal Division. And it isn't just the 9/11 aircraft that we've reported, we believe, employed this system. There's at least four other aircraft hijackings that we claim this system was also used. Malaysia Air 370, Malaysia Air 17. There's a Russian Metrojet over the Sinai a few years ago. They said ISIS blew it up. We claim that was electronically hijacked. And finally, the most recent one was China Eastern 5735. This airplane was coming into Beijing at 29,000 feet and went into a sudden vertical nosedive and hit the surface from 29,000 feet in 2 minutes. I was actually in touch with, I'll call him a Chinese operative, because he was going to arrange transportation for me and my wife to go to Beijing and Shanghai to brief Chinese and airline officials on the system. But at the time, COVID quarantine was in effect, and we put it off, and all of a sudden he went silent on me. But I managed to send them a 66-page document on the system via USB flash drive explaining what it was, but I haven't heard back from them. So we're saying, hey, there's a system out there. Someone is hijacking airplanes electronically and doing bad things to them. And it isn't the responsibility of someone like you or I to go out and investigate us. We've actually gone to the House of Representatives Government Oversight Committee and said, hey, the government's not doing their job here. We want a congressional investigation into our allegations. Stonewall. When I call, I can't get through past the intern that answers the phone.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a war happening right now. It's probably not where you think, though. It's in your gut. A battle between good and bad bacteria can determine your health. Kimchi 1 from Bright Core Nutrition is the fermented superfood your body needs to arm the good guys with all the right weapons to defeat the bad actors once and for all. I told my mom about this. She's like, send me the link. I'm ordering some, because she's been dealing with some arthritis. And I'm telling you, all the health starts in the gut, and you will be stunned. When you have the right fermented superfood in your gut, it'll improve every aspect of your health, your heart, your brain, your memory, your cognition, even the quality of your skin, the growth of your hair. Yes, inflammation in the body, arthritis, all of it. So when you contain over 900 strains of beneficial bacteria in each capsule, Kimchi 1 supports healthy digestion, fortifies your immune system, and helps detoxify your body. Kimchi has also been shown to reduce the risk of obesity, promote smaller waistlines, curbing your appetite, naturally boosting your metabolism. So Kimchi One is their natural non-GMO. It's dairy-free, it's gluten-free, and it's 100% made in the USA. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link in our description, or just use the code REDACTED to get 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, call our friends. Get on the phone with these guys. They are an American company. They will talk to you on the phone. They've got a team of people right now. Seriously, write this number down and call them when our show is over. 888 is the number, not 800. It's 888-404-6312. And you'll save up to 50% off if you get on the phone with them. And you also get free shipping. So give their team a call. This is a fantastic company. And we're going to be adding this into our daily supplements in our house with Kimchi One. Big believers in it. So thanks to their support here of the show. Who do you think is behind it? Because if someone has access to these systems, and they could be hacked, right? They could be controlled remotely from some other location, but Congress should be able to pinpoint exactly who has access to these systems and who would have had control of them on 9/11.
Well, I honestly believe that it was a super sensitive, super top secret black project. So Congress may not have been apprised of the system. I don't know. But I did do a Freedom of Information Act request to the FAA saying, send us everything you have on the uninterruptible autopilot. Guess what they come back with? Zip, nothing. They had nothing on it.
They have nothing on it.
Nothing,
and yet you've confirmed that it's in these aircraft.
Right. And the reason I know that, we have an avionics technician whose name I won't mention, actually in 1996, 5 years before 9/11, was working on this, installed on an airplane, saw it operate. So we know, even though there's a patent on it, it was patented in November 2006, okay? And you can go on our website and look at that. But we believe that was a head fake by the government. There's a Wikipedia article that used to be out and just recently was changed. It used to say Boeing, Honeywell, uninterruptible autopilot. Well, that's who produced the system, right? Now, if you Google it, the Wikipedia article only says uninterruptible autopilot. And it is misleading because they removed their name. So we believe, based on who developed drone technology, and again, on our last program, we talked about that going back 80 years to 1944 when they first developed remote control airplanes. But one thing I didn't mention on the last program, Clayton, is Operation Northwoods. In 1962, the United States was looking for an excuse to invade Cuba. And the Joint Chiefs of Staff gave the Secretary of Defense this Operation Northwoods, who presented it to Kennedy. And what it called for was a series of false flag attacks, like they were going to attack a ship, U.S. ship in open waters, blame it on Castro. Terrorist activity in the United States, same thing, attack Guantanamo Bay. But the big thing was they were going to take an empty military aircraft, overfly Cuba remotely, and have a MiG shot it down so they could invade Cuba. Of course, Kennedy shot this plan down, but this was 39 years before 9/11 that they were planning a false flag event that involved the remote control of an aircraft that would create an event that would enable them to invade a foreign country, such as we did in Afghanistan. It's identical, the operation.
And now we have this massive false flag that leads us into a perpetual war in the Middle East, which has been an absolute boondoggle for the defense industry, with trillions of dollars in profits and millions of people killed as a result of it. So you want a clear motive. You want clear motive. All you need to do is look right there. Dan, is there anything else you wanted to touch on related to this that we haven't talked about previously or now? And I know the new developments now with the Congressman Kurt Weldon and Senator Johnson hoping to get this information in front of Congress. It seems that maybe they're more, certainly Senator Johnson seems open to this, having this public hearing about this. I know the victims of 9/11, the families of 9/11 want justice for this. The firefighters who've died, the firefighters who witnessed the controlled demolition of those towers and Building 7 want justice. There's enough families, there's enough relatives out there who are demanding justice for this. Is there anything else that you think we need to cover here that we haven't talked about?
Just real quick, last month, a very intelligent, knowledgeable gentleman named Carl Schwartz contacted me. He's a highly successful American businessman and entrepreneur who's the CEO of a company in the Czech Republic called the Tokata Nanotech Group. It's a nanotechnology firm. And what he's going to do is he's going to file a RICO lawsuit. He's going to file a civil RICO lawsuit, and he is loaded with information on the highest level individuals and organizations in the United States and elsewhere. And for those who aren't familiar with the RICO lawsuit and what that involves, I'm not a lawyer, and I said, Carl, enlighten me if I can tell Clayton's audience what that's all about. But so it's a RICO lawsuit. RICO stands for Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization. And it's a lawsuit that has RICO civil remedy, but the lawsuit invokes very powerful other U.S. criminal laws directed at the defendants. And I'm talking about presidents here. I'm talking about other people, high-ranking officials. But he says VICAR, V-I-C-A-R, is one of these violent crimes in aid of racketeering. The lawsuit's also invoking the U.S. Bioterrorism Act that also has civil remedy due to the anthrax attack on Congress 1 week after September 11, 2001. He's claiming that it's much more than just those four laws, the RICO Act, civil RICO remedy, and VICAR and bioterrorism. He says there's other very serious crimes. Many criminal laws have been broken by the defendants. So what I did when he sent me this 32-page, I forgot what the name of the article is that he sent me, but it was loaded with all this information. I immediately went to the lawyers committee, Richard Gage, the International Center for 9/11 Justice, and said, look, you've got to listen to what this man says, because they're all sitting on a wealth of information that could help him with the suit. So that's really the only other if I don't mention this, I will have my co-author and my editor all over me. But a few years ago, I wrote a manuscript for my two children to try to explain to them what I was doing and why it happened that we wound up divorced and the mess our family turned into. And I was approached by an author who said, it's a book, Dan, let's turn it into a book. Well, long story short, an editor came along too. And between the three of us, we worked long distance using Dropbox to create my memoir. It's called Grounded, Memoir of a 9/11 Pilot Whistleblower. And my editors made it easy for anybody that wants access to the book. He's created a website at 911pilots.us. So if you're interested, I'm not trying to make money selling the book, because I won't. I just want the story out and the information out. If you want to go to that website, 911pilots.us, it'll enable you to give your email address, and we can send additional information as events unfold here. So Clayton, I feel very privileged that you have me on the program a second time, and I really appreciate it. And you're everybody's hero out there, you and Natalie, for the work that you're doing. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your courage, and thank you for everything that you've been put through with your family and all of this, having your name dragged through the mud, your career upended, to try to get this information out. We all thank you for that. Captain Dan Hanley, great to see you again. Thank you so much.
You too, Clayton. Thank you.